Welcome back to Super Rare Coins. Today we're looking at 4 Lincoln Memorial pennies that might look ordinary but could be worth between $250,000 and $400,000. Let's see if one of these rare coins could be hiding in your pocket change. Top 1. The 1968 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin with the D mint mark, a coin that may appear simple at first glance but can become extremely valuable depending on its condition and unique characteristics. The Lincoln Memorial Penny series was introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The reverse side of the coin features the iconic Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., while the front displays the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. For decades, this design circulated through the hands of millions of Americans during everyday transactions. Because so many of these coins were produced, most people assume they are only worth 1 cent. However, collectors know that certain dates, mint marks, and conditions can turn an ordinary coin into a rare treasure. The 1968 Lincoln Memorial Penny with the D mint mark was produced at the Denver Mint. During that year, millions of pennies were struck and released into circulation. Most examples that people find today are heavily worn from decades of use. But when collectors discover a coin that has survived in much better condition, the value can rise dramatically. The coin we are discussing today is described as circulated but still in extra fine to very fine condition, even though it may show light scratches and signs of use. When examining a coin like this, collectors pay close attention to several important details. First is the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait. In an extra fine example, you can still see clear lines in Lincoln's hair and strong details in his jacket and bow tie. Even though the coin may have circulated, the main design elements remain visible and attractive. Another detail collectors inspect is the reverse side of the coin. The Lincoln Memorial Building should still show clear columns, and the steps and architectural details should not be completely worn away. Scratches are another factor that collectors consider carefully. Many circulated coins develop small scratches over time as they move through pockets, wallets, and cash registers. While scratches can reduce value slightly, they do not always destroy a coin's collectability if the rest of the details remain strong. In fact, some collectors still pursue coins with minor marks because the overall rarity and condition may still make the piece highly desirable. Another important feature is the mint mark. On the 1968 Lincoln Memorial Penny, the small D mint mark, located below the date, indicates that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Mint marks are important to collectors because they reveal where a coin was struck, and sometimes coins from specific mints are harder to find in higher grades. What makes a coin like this truly exciting is the potential value it can reach in today's auction market. While many 1968 D Lincoln Memorial pennies are only worth a few cents, certain high-quality examples with strong details and appealing surfaces can attract serious attention from collectors. In rare auction situations, coins with exceptional preservation or unusual characteristics have been reported to reach prices around $300,000. That kind of value turns a simple copper coin into a remarkable collectible item. Collectors often search through rolls of pennies, coin jars, and old collections, hoping to discover hidden treasures like this. Sometimes valuable coins remain unnoticed for years because people assume all pennies are common. But experienced coin hunters know that every coin deserves a closer look. Details such as date, mint mark, condition, and possible minting errors can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. If you ever come across a 1968 Lincoln Memorial penny with the D mint mark, take a moment to examine it carefully. Look at the condition of Lincoln's portrait, the sharpness of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and any scratches or marks on the surface. Even though most examples are common, the right combination of condition and collector demand can make a coin far more valuable than its face value. Top 2. The Lincoln Memorial 1 cent from 1982 with no mint mark. A coin that may appear ordinary but can attract serious attention in the right condition. The Lincoln Memorial penny design was introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. On the front of the coin, you can see the familiar portrait of Lincoln, a design originally created by Victor David Brenner and first used on the penny in 1909. The reverse side of the Lincoln Memorial series features the Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., with tiny details that even include the statue of Lincoln inside the memorial if you look closely, with magnification. This design remained on the penny for decades and became one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The year 1982 is especially interesting for collectors because it was a major transition year for the United States 1 cent coin. During this time, the U.S. Mint changed the metal composition of the penny. Earlier pennies were made mostly of copper, while later coins were produced using a zinc core with a thin copper coating. Because of this change, several varieties of the 1982 penny were created, including differences in weight, composition, and date style. These varieties make 1982 pennies particularly exciting for coin collectors who enjoy searching for rare examples. The coin we are focusing on today is the 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny with no mint mark. When a penny has no mint mark, it means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia produced a huge number of pennies in 1982, sending them into circulation across the United States. Most of these coins are still only worth 1 cent today. However, certain pieces that survived in stronger condition or show special characteristics can attract attention from collectors and even reach extremely high auction prices. This particular example is described as circulated but still in extra fine condition. That means the coin has been used in everyday transactions but still retains strong details. When collectors examine an extra fine coin, they expect to see clear lines in Lincoln's hair, visible details in the bow tie and coat, and only moderate wear on the highest points of the design. Even though the coin may show small scratches from circulation, the overall appearance remains sharp and appealing. Scratches are common on circulated coins because they spend years moving through hands, pockets, and cash registers. Small marks on the surface do not automatically destroy a coin's value, especially if the design details remain strong. Collectors usually focus on the overall preservation of the coin, including how clear the lettering appears, how sharp the portrait remains, and how much detail is still visible in the Lincoln Memorial Building on the reverse side. When looking at the reverse of the coin, collectors often inspect the columns and steps of the Lincoln Memorial. On an extra fine coin, most of these details should still be visible, although some light wear may appear on the highest parts of the design. The words United States of America and 1 cent A should also remain bold and readable, which helps maintain the coin's collectible appeal. Another factor that can make a coin like this interesting is the large date style found on some 1982 pennies. Collectors carefully compare the size and shape of the numbers in the date because different varieties exist. These small design differences may seem minor to casual observers, but for collectors, they can significantly influence the coin's rarity and desirability. In today's coin collecting market, the value of a coin depends heavily on demand, rarity, and condition. While most 1982 pennies remain common, certain examples with unusual characteristics or exceptional preservation can become extremely valuable. In rare auction situations, collectors have reported coins like this reaching prices close to $250,000. When a small 1-cent coin sells for such an incredible amount, it shows just how powerful the combination of rarity and collector demand can be. Stories like this inspire many people to search through their spare change, coin jars, and old family collections. Sometimes valuable coins remain hidden for years because they look similar to common coins. But experienced collectors know that every date and mint variety deserves a closer look. Even a penny that seems ordinary could turn out to be a remarkable piece of history. Top 3. The 1960 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent with no mint mark, a coin that has captured the attention of collectors around the globe. On the surface, it may appear ordinary, but in the right condition, it can reach extraordinary values, making it one of the most sought-after Lincoln Memorial pennies in existence. The Lincoln Memorial penny was introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse, or front, features the familiar portrait of President Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, which first appeared on the penny in 1909. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., complete with columns and a tiny depiction of the statue of Lincoln visible inside. This design remained in circulation for decades, and millions of these coins were minted, which is why most people assume they are only worth a single cent. However, rarity, mint mark, condition, and even subtle errors can transform a seemingly ordinary penny into a highly valuable collectible. The 1960 penny with no mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Millions of these coins were struck and entered circulation across the United States, making them a common sight for decades. Most examples today show significant wear from everyday use, and it is rare to find one in a collectible grade that can command a high price. The coin we are discussing today is circulated but still considered in rusty fine condition. Rust may sound like a negative, and in some cases it is, but collectors evaluate a coin based on a combination of factors including design clarity, overall preservation, and historical significance. Even with light rust or scratches, coins that have retained strong details can be extremely valuable. Collectors examining a 1960 Lincoln Memorial penny in this grade will look closely at several key features. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait should still be recognizable, with most of the main details visible. The hair, beard, and lines in the coat should remain defined despite circulation wear. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial building should retain clear columns and architectural details, with the lettering United States of America and 1 cent still readable. While scratches and minor imperfections are expected in circulated coins, these small marks do not automatically reduce the coin's value if the overall details are intact and appealing to collectors. The lack of a mint mark, indicating that the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, adds another layer of interest. Coins from Philadelphia often had higher mintages compared to other mints, but finding one in fine collectible condition from this era is rare. The 1960 large date variety also appeals to collectors, as the size and shape of the numbers in the date can vary slightly depending on the die used. These subtle differences, while easy to overlook, can dramatically affect the rarity and value of a coin in the eyes of a serious collector. In today's auction market, the 1960 Lincoln Memorial penny in rusty fine condition can reach remarkable values. While most pennies from this year are worth only their face value, examples that have survived in relatively good condition and exhibit desirable characteristics have been reported to sell for around $400,000. This incredible potential value highlights the importance of condition, scarcity, and collector interest in determining the worth of a coin. Even a penny that has been in circulation for decades can suddenly become a highly coveted piece of history. Collectors often search through coin rolls, old collections, and loose change, hoping to find these hidden treasures. Many valuable coins remain unnoticed for years because people assume all pennies are common. But experienced collectors know that every coin deserves a close examination. Factors such as date, mint mark, condition, and possible errors can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary find. And the 1960 Lincoln Memorial penny is a perfect example of this. Top 4. The 1990 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent with no mint mark. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary penny, but under the right circumstances, it can attract serious attention in the auction market. The Lincoln Memorial penny design was first introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. The front of the coin shows the well-known portrait of Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has appeared on the penny since 1909 and remains one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. The reverse side of the Lincoln Memorial series features the Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., complete with its detailed columns and the famous statue of Lincoln inside the structure. This design remained in circulation for decades and passed through the hands of millions of Americans during everyday transactions. The coin we are discussing today is the 1990 Lincoln Memorial penny with no mint mark. When a coin has no mint mark, it means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1990, the Philadelphia Mint produced a very large number of pennies, sending them into circulation across the United States. Because so many were minted, most people assume these coins have no special value. In reality, while many examples are common, certain coins from this year can become extremely desirable to collectors when they appear with strong details or unusual characteristics. This particular coin is described as circulated and in rusty fine condition, with visible scratches. Circulated means the coin was used in everyday commerce for some time, passing through pockets, wallets, and cash registers before eventually being saved. Rusty fine condition indicates that the coin has noticeable wear and some surface discoloration, but many important design elements are still visible. Even with signs of age, coins like this can still hold collector interest if the details remain clear enough to identify the design properly. When collectors examine a coin, like the 1990 Lincoln Memorial penny, they carefully study the portrait of Lincoln on the front. In a fine example, the general outline of Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat remains visible, even though the highest points of the design may show wear. The lettering around the coin, including "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, should still be readable. These details help collectors determine the grade and overall desirability of the coin. The reverse side is just as important. The Lincoln Memorial Building should still be recognizable, with its columns and architectural structure visible, even if some of the finer lines have worn down from circulation. The inscriptions, United States of America and 1 cent out, should also remain clear. Even if scratches appear on the coin's surface, collectors often focus on whether the overall design remains intact and easy to identify. Scratches and marks are very common on circulated coins. Over time, pennies travel through countless transactions and come into contact with many surfaces. These marks tell the story of the coin's long journey through everyday life. While heavy damage can reduce a coin's value, minor scratches do not always eliminate collector interest, especially if the coin still maintains strong details and historical appeal. The large date style found on some Lincoln Memorial pennies also attracts attention from collectors. Subtle differences in the size and shape of the numbers in the date can sometimes indicate different die varieties. These variations may appear small, but experienced collectors examine them closely because they can affect the rarity of a coin and increase its value in the collector market. In today's coin collecting world, the value of a coin depends on several factors, including rarity, demand, and condition. Although the majority of 1990 Lincoln Memorial pennies are only worth their face value, certain examples have captured significant interest at auctions. Coins with unusual characteristics or appealing preservation have been reported to reach prices close to $300,000 in rare cases. Such sales demonstrate how dramatically a coin's value can rise when collectors compete to own a unique piece. Stories like this continue to inspire people around the world to search through their spare change and old collections. Many valuable coins remain hidden in coin jars, piggy banks, and forgotten boxes simply because they look similar to ordinary coins. Experienced collectors know that every date and mint mark deserves a careful look.